name. And the thing I like about it is you pronounce your name the same way I pronounce mine. It's not Cassandra, or any of that. You are actually the first person with my name. I'm going to be that pronounce it correctly.
Right, we were talking a little earlier, and I said, when you asked me, like, well, what do people call you? My friends, my close family, they call me Sam. My close family actually calls me Sandy, and it's so funny that I had a conversation with them. Maybe about 10 years ago. I called a family meeting, and I said to them, I don't like y'all calling me Sandy. I want y'all to call me Sandra, and they just totally ignored me and said, "Is that all you wanted?" And just hung up the phone on me. So, my husband was laughing as well. And he was like, "I told you that's what they were going to do." And so, so that just means a closeness to me. The Sandy, the Sand, and I actually, as I've progressed through the book process and as I've done a reflection on my self life, I have always, but I now more so than ever, put that L behind it, because that L is extremely important to me. Both my paternal and my maternal grandmothers had Louise in their name, and I have Louise in my name. So I feel so honored. And as I continue to grow in God and as my spirituality it continues to expand, I want them each, one on the left and one on the right, God, and take my hand as if I was a little girl and saying, "Come on, let us show you the way. We're here with you the whole time."
Oh, I love it. I love it. Like believe it or not, my middle initial is E. But for many, many years, I didn't own my middle name.
Mhm.
And it wasn't because of it's not a cute name, it's because people didn't pronounce it right.
Right.
So my middle name now that I like 5 years ago, I start owning my name, and my middle name is Estelle.
And that's beautiful.
Very, very beautiful. And so my mom named me after some really elite person, you
Right.
know? And so now I can appreciate it because I know, like you were saying, it represents something and
Right.
it's endearing, and your parents gave it to you, and now you're named after them. That's huge.
Right.
So I'm glad you own it.
I'm doing
'Cause
when
you told me when I made your flyer, you were like, "Can you put that L in there?"
right. So when people and that's what they'll know me by is Sandra L, because that L is very, very important to me.
Oh, that's so wonderful. All right. So, your primary purpose for following your dreams in the health field is what?
My primary purpose for following my dreams is because like I said, I am an African American woman. I grew up among of African Americans. I had a sister, may she continue resting in peace, who developed a really rare heart condition. It was rare. Not many people heard of it, and I went to bat for her, because I realized that what the health establishment was doing was they was going to Dr. Google, and these were the health establishment medical doctors and those in the know. They were going to the internet trying to find information on this condition that they
Mhm.
didn't know. And I started thinking, well, how many other conditions are there out there that we don't know about that I really need to take an in-depth look at. They finally went ahead and released, signed off on the paperwork for her to have her surgery that she needed. But while she was on the operating table, she passed away.
Mm.
So I'm like, I'll determine within my determination that I will never, stand by and just watch someone, especially someone that's close to me, pass away like that, because she didn't have to.
Mm.
And if we don't know and we don't own our own health, then we're going to be lost. We'll forever be lost.
You said a mouthful. You said you determined within your determination.
Right.
Ooh, that's powerful. You made another statement. You made up in your mind that as long as you were on the face of the earth, you was going to do something about helping other people to live longer.
Exactly. And that's true. I mean, we're put, and one of my favorites. one of my favorite quotes is, "Service is the rent you pay."
Oh, we
That
just
is one
read
of
that.
my favorite quotes, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Well, a lot of us have said, hey, we'll sit around and talk about things that we're going to do. Stop talking. I tell people all the time, stop talking. I don't need to hear you talk unless what you're going to do is talk and then put some action to those words. Stop talking, right? I mean, it's a waste of your breath and it's a waste of my time to see you consistently talk without putting any action behind those words.
Action is power. Action is
Right.
power. We are so sorry for your loss. Sandra's
And
Authors Forum extend our condolences to you, but we really thank you for allowing it to push you and to catapult you into the field where you can help others.
right.
That is huge. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, you know what? No things necessary. God put a gift in me, and God said, "This is what I want you to do." So, Maddie, even if I wanted to stop and change paths and say, "Well, you know what? That's really not what I want to do." I've tried it.
Haven't we all?
Girl, I tried it.
Yeah.
I tried it. I'm like, Lord,
Yes.
that ain't what I want to do.
Come
I want
on.
to do this. And it's
Right.
funny because he let me do what I thought I wanted to do for so long, but the passion inside of me kept burning. He
Mm.
just really let me do it. He's like, okay, well, your little hard head is going to bust it to, go ahead. I'm going to let you go. And I'm going to let you fall and keep falling until you realize that your strength doesn't come from inside of you. It comes from what I put inside of you. So you got a deeper strength behind you than just what you want to do.
I
So
love
this
it.
is what I want you to do. I'm gonna wait till you wake up and realize that this is what I want you to do, and then you're gonna go ahead and do that.
Come
And you're gonna
on
be
now.
great at what you do.
Great. I love it. Exceptional.
Right,
Because what God wants us to do his bidding, all right, the way he wants it done,
right,
not the way we want it done. And so he is a perfect God. So we need to ascribe to doing everything, our assignments perfectly, right?
right.
You got some comments coming in and some questions. So let's do this. Victoria, she says, it's such a blessing that you're in the health field. I feel like the world recently realized how much we need our health industry.
And Victoria, what you put there is somewhat truthful. And I'm going to tell you why it's somewhat truthful. The world already knew what was going on in the health industry. What COVID-19 and her family, when they came to be unwanted health unwanted home guests, what
Hmm.
they did was they just blew the covers right on off of it. They just said, "Stop playing. Here's everything that you guys need to do that you should be doing that you're not doing." Now
Mm.
you don't have a choice but to do it. But the problem with that is it, and which is once again why I wrote the book. One of the reasons why I wrote the book. The problem with that is that the limelight only stays lit for a moment. It
Mm.
only stays lit for a moment. If we let the limelight fall off, then we are back right back to where we started at again. And that's exactly where we're transversing backwards right now, is we're going backwards instead of frontwards because we let the power, we let the limelight fall off. And just so, when I say we, I mean those of us that have the power to do more. We stop doing more. And so that little that little window or door open. And so in walk the next, the stuff that we are constantly pushing up against now.
Very good. Um, I think we as individuals did not realize how important our health was.
Exactly.
And I think during the pandemic, we realized because the people that are deceasing, um, well, so they say, is because they have a lot of underlying issues.
Right.
Correct. All right. So that was a great question, Victoria. That was a
It
very
was. It
good
most certainly
statement.
was.
Hmm. Manda says, I am thankful that you found the voice to help others through your loss. That is huge as well.
It most certainly is. And once again, I give, I can take all the credit in the world, but I know it's not me. I know it's God. I know. And so And what makes me proud is that when they see me and they see me doing, they're like, "Girl, you're doing so much." It's not me, it's God. And that's what I often have to tell them. It's not me, it's what God put inside of me. Without him, none of this, my dreams, my goals, my passions, none of this would be coming to light. None of it.
Yeah, God's gift becomes our passion, and that very true.
It is.
Uh,
Most certainly is.
I was thinking about all the studies that you had to do, all the midnight burning of the oil that you had to do in order to be in this field. Tell us about that experience if you can go back.
You know, I without my husband, we've been married for 30 years. I am so happily married to I couldn't I'm like bubbling over. I'm like, Lord, you just been blessing me and blessing me and blessing me. And my life hasn't always been, on a straight and narrow. While I was growing up, I went out and did what, young people do growing up, right? I was the hard-headed of the hard-headed of the hard-headed. But and when my son was born, he had to have open heart surgery. His dad, who's not my husband, was in Chicago. And so I took my son and I moved to Chicago so he could get the surgery and I could
Hmm.
be able to rest and relax with him a little while. And while I was doing that, I met my husband. And when I tell you a man of my dreams,
Hmm.
a man of my dreams. He came in and immediately I told him the first day we met, I'm like, I have a son and you have to get past my son in order to get to me. And I'm bringing this up for a reason. I said, you have to get past my sons to get to me, because I'm not dating you if you're not in with my son. And I wasn't even in school then. I mean, right at that point in time, I hadn't even begun to go to school yet. And, he walked in and my son looked up at him and he said, "Hey, buddy." And he didn't even know my husband. And they became just that close from day one. And
But
then
how about this? He's only 5 years old
right, he was only
at
5
the
years
time.
old at the time. And and I told my mother, I said, "Well, I was just dating this other guy. He was a security officer." He told my son, he's like, "I'm gonna bring you some stuff for you to have." And he gave it to my son. My son looked at it, he took it and he threw it in the garbage. So, a couple of months later, when I bring my husband to meet my son, and he looked up at him and said, "Hey, buddy," and they had that automatic click. And I told my mother, she was like, "I don't know why you surprised. Kids know, babies know, they know what they do, they know who they need, and they know who's good." And from that day forward, it just became the two of them. I was there, but I was there as a third wheel. So, so even with my family now, I'm there, but I'm there. I'm like a third wheel. It's like LC, 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 right? And
Yeah.
he said, we sat down, we talked. He's like, "Well, what do you want to do with your life?" And I told myself, "Well, you know what? I want to go back to school." And he was like, "Well, why don't you?" And I was like, "Because I have nobody to watch my son." He's, "Well, what do you mean you don't have nobody to watch your son?" And we got married. He asked me to marry him. We got married. And so while I was studying, him and my husband, I was in our back room is our business office. And while I was studying, my husband and my son were in the front playing, watching. They had a thing. My husband made this night called Men's Day Out. So it was him, my husband, and he had a nephew that was a year. I think he was a year or two older than my son. But he made it so that I could go to school.
Oh
And
my
he
goodness.
wasn't happy and he wasn't satisfied until I had went all the way through school.
I want to tell him thank you. All
So
right? Tell him from me thank you, because you don't have, well, it is important to have a supportive
that
spouse.
right.
That's what
That
I feel.
support system that, and here I am in
Mhm.
Chicago. I don't have any family, so it's just me and my son. His father's family was here, it is still here, but it was just me. And I didn't have, like, I couldn't go get my car and go see my mama or go see my sisters or whatever. I couldn't do that. But he made sure my son was grounded. He made sure that I understood and knew that he had my front, my back, and my two sides. So
Mm.
he allowed me to. And even the nights when I was like, "I can't do this," he said, "Yes, you can." He, gave me the
Wow.
strength to go forth and to actually finish. And as I, you know, doing what I'm doing right now, he's right there with me. He's my ride or die. As
Oh,
many
I love it.
times as, we get into arguments or whatever, the night passes and we still find a way to come together.
I love it. I love it. I've been interviewing people recently that's really in touch with their relationships, and it's God ordained. I'm so excited about it when people can really honestly say I am married to my soulmate and we are happy. That does my heart good. All right, all right. So look, she said, "Yes, ma'am, mother." Look, there are so many questions on here. The amount of generations gone astray just from people putting others before their children is something else. What do you
Yes.
say about that?
You know what it is, and it's a sign of our times, right? I mean, I remember my mother was a single parent for a long time. My dad passed when I was, I believe, 3 or 4, um, and she did what she did, by always putting her children first. And and I look back and I think, like I said, when I was in my teens, I was doing my thing. I'm doing my thing. I'm being hard headed. I'm doing my thing. I didn't get a chance to really understand what she did for us and how she did it as a single parent, because she could have brought another man into our lives and she chose not to. She chose
Man.
to take, God's hand and ask for God's grace and lead us through what she had to lead us through as a mother.
Hmm.
Nowadays, it's not that, it just appears that that family structure is really not there.
Well, look at this. Victoria says the ability to turn a hurtful experience into motivation for change is something else. I don't know you, but I am proud of you.
Victoria, you know me. Every time you see a woman in a store or a woman saying, that's right, we could do it, queens support queens. When you hear that, you see me. When you see another woman supporting another woman instead of putting that woman down, you see me. So next time you see that happen, you're like, okay, she's right. I do see her because I heard her talk, and now I'm putting a picture with what she's saying. I really do see her. So yes, even though that person's name might be different, we're one and the same.
Hmm. All right, all right. So she's laughing and she says she love it. She love it. And somebody, oh, look at Twitch over there. From Twitch is saying, "Amen." I totally agree. Look, Amanda is saying, "I love it. Thank you for a supportive spirit." Yeah, I love your upbeat spirit, and that's what I'm about. I was telling somebody today, be positive because negativity. I don't want to hear it. Who,
Right.
who wants to hear negativity? I don't,
Right.
I don't want to hear it. My ears are for only positive things.
You're right. That and I mean, and that's the truth about the
It
whole
drains
situation.
you,
I don't want to hear it. Not only do I not want to hear it, I don't want to see it. So when I
exactly.
see it, I move myself away from it because I don't need to see nor hear that negativity. We're
Mm.
never gonna get to point A and stay at point A. Like we can get to point A, but we soon gonna be traveling backwards if we don't keep that positive spirit,
I'm
right?
telling you, it's very important. And so, to the audience, I challenge you tonight, all week long, to see how many positive thoughts you can have in a day.
Right.
How
I
about
mean,
that?
exactly. You know how they do the jars, the curse jars they call them. Every time you curse, you put $1 in there or 50 cents or whatever you put in it. Okay, challenge them to that. Every time you think of a negative, put a positive word in that jar for you.
I love it. I love it. See, me and you, like, it's like we connected from day one. Is it ever hard to fight towards such a big goal as to making sure no one else has to pass in vain?
It is, and the reason why it is, and I'm glad that question was asked. It is, and the reason why it is because a lot of times I come across people that say to me, "Well, I don't go to the doctor. Why should I go to the doctor? All they're going to do is throw me on a bunch of medicine. I don't need a bunch of medicine. So I'm not going to go to the doctor." And so trying to talk to them to explain to people that you really don't have to, because you can go to a homeopathic doctor, You can go to a number of other spiritual doctors. You go to another number of other doctors where you don't have to go to a doctor that you have to take medicine for, or
Hmm.
something else for. So there does come some times and some days where I find myself saying, wow, I can't believe that they just told me they don't go to the doctor. Not all of us have to go to the doctor, right? But if you don't go to the doctor, then do your best at making sure that your health and wellness, your own health and wellness, aka self-care, do what you need to do to make sure you are taking care of yourself, so that not only can you save yourself, but you can also save your family and your community. So it's a thing where I have to get out and I have to talk to people as much as I can to let them know. Either go to the doctor or do your self-care.
So preventative measures is what you're
Exactly.
saying. And I totally believe in preventative measures. I'm going to hold this book up because I want you to go get it. All right. This is a journal and a planner. And people, when I tell you, you need it if you have children to keep the records for their appointments, their doctor's appointments, their vaccinations. Look at that. Look at that. It's only $20, you all, but it is so necessary. The first page, she has family health history. So your father's family and your mother's family. How about that? Then she has where you can put the dates for all of the vaccinations that your children have had. And so you'll know where they are, and the doctor can't tell you they didn't have it. You'll have the record right here. All right.
While we're going through the vaccination part, well, let's go back a second. The family health history. People will say, okay, well, I want the book, but I'm I'm adopted. So how do I get my family health history? Let me explain to you, and to the audience. This is a thing. You could be adopted and not know your biological family.
Mhm.
However, how many times have you listened to the news when they have said that this disease or that disease is predominant in African American, Spanish, Caucasian, whatever community that the disease is prominent in? That's your family. You have family. All of us have family outside that biological tree, other than that mom and that dad. When they tell you about your, conditions that you have, and they base it on a genealogical trait, that's
Mhm.
your family. You need to know that. You need to write that down so that you know what you have, so that you know what you need to be asking the doctor when you go to the doctor and they're like, well, we really can't figure this out. Well, hey doc, this runs in our family. Can you take a look at it and see if this might be impacting me? So when you that's why it's important, because before you get to your personal history, you need to know your family history, whether it's biological or culture. And with the vaccinations, now we have adults getting vaccines. We have the monkeypox vaccine, we have the boosters, we have the COVID-19 vaccination. You need to write all that down. It needs to be written down. And my book gives you a place where you can actually write it down.
Well, I'm going to pause right now and I'm going to ask the audience if you can type in a one if you're going right now to purchase this book. The name of the book is Personal Health Journal and Planner. I have never seen anything like this. It's not heavy. You can put it in your purse, you can carry it around with you, it will not get in the way. This is a healthcare professional telling you what you need, and she has it's a monthly planner where you can check off, and she has doctor's visits. All right. Reason for the visit, the date of the visit, the diagnosis, the feedback, the test order, the results, prescribed treatments, blood type. I don't know what my blood type is, Sandra. I
Most of
used to
you do
know,
it,
but if
and
I had this planner, I would know, right?
right. Most people don't know, right? And
Mhm.
so if you ever went in an accident and you needed a blood transfusion and someone in your family had to, they asked you what blood type you have, you're hurt. You're not going to be able to think about that. But if you have a planner and you have it written down in a planner, and you've spoken to those people in your family who would be in charge of making sure you're okay, they would know to go get that planner and open a book up to blood type and say, this is what type of blood they have. Better be proactive about your health than waiting until the last minute when you not thinking right, trying to think of some stuff. If you write it down now, you'll have it.
How many times do you go to the doctor and they said, ask you about your medications or what kind you take? Some people take a lot of medication.
Right.
So she has a page here. She has a page here for the pharmacy, supplements and vitamins, surgical treatments, emergency room visits, and urgent care visits. Come on, you all. I have never seen a planner like this ever in my entire life, and she has it from month to month. So this is a great planner. Please type in the comment section if you have purchased this planner already, and share this because the world needs to know about this interview tonight. Sharing is caring. All right. This is Sandra's contact information. All right. Yeah. Martina Joy, she said this is a must have. Exactly.
And one of the things that I would actually like to also bring up is the fact that the publisher that helped me self-publish that book, she did an excellent job, even in guiding me. Because when I first sat down with her and I was talking to her, I was like, well, I want to do this for year 2022. And she's like, well, what happens in year 2023? And I was like, well, I didn't think that far. So she said, that's why you need to make it an infinity journal, one that doesn't have a date. So if someone goes in the store and says, oh, it's October, why would I need to buy a journal now? There's no date on it. So you could use it for whatever year you want. You could keep it rolling on for whatever year you want it because there's no end date on it.
Wow.
And there's no beginning date on it. So you can, it's something that you can have with you at all times.
Look at this. I used to fear the doctor, but I'm grateful I went because I found out my heartbeat was higher than a healthy person's. Because of that, I was able to start working out and get myself back. That's called preventative measures.
That's
what do
right.
you say about that?
And that's actually exactly correct. It's preventative and it's proactive. You didn't wait until they was carrying you to the emergency room and say, hey, I'm sick, I need help. You felt it and you took it and you went on your own to get that help. Now, what would be helpful for you is to purchase the journal and mark it down that I had heart palpitations on this day, and on this day I went to the emergency room or to urgent care or to the doctor. Wherever you went, there's places in the journal where you actually write your own notes. Why is that important? Because should you have children, or even if you don't have children, if you have a spouse or you have family, and for some reason they need to help you along in your journey, they can actually say, well, here, she wrote it down. This is when she started feeling this. Because so very often when you go to the doctor's office, one of the questions that they will ask you is, well, when did you notice this happen?
And when did you first have the first symptom, right?
Right.
And who knows? Because I've taken my children to the doctor. They don't know, and I don't know. We sitting up there. Two people don't know nothing. Right. So, I'm telling you. So if we had this, all right, this will serve a great purpose. And somebody said, and that's true, it can be great for recording your glucose levels because people are suffering from various things. But look, we have Carolyn Coleman on here, and I just interviewed her last week. She said you have to be your own healthcare advocate. I often tell my patients that. Yeah,
you do. And you do. And nobody, and the other good point about the book is that nobody needs to be in the experiencing the healthcare system by their self.
Nobody.
They need nobody. It's too much being said. It's too much being done. Nobody needs to be by themselves. And if you don't have anybody to go with you, what you can do is take the book with you and write it down. So that when you get home and your family calls you and says, well, what did the doctor say? You don't have to say, I don't know. Right. I can't. I mean, he said so much. I really don't know.
That's
And
what
so
it is.
right.
Yeah,
And so you get lost in the shuffle by saying, I don't know, when you can open up the book and say, well, he said this. And if you don't agree with what he said, if you don't have the time to explain it to him in the doctor's office, you have written it down, you've discussed it with your family. They can, at that point in time, if you don't feel comfortable, they can, at that point in time, speak on your behalf and say, hey, she was in with you. This is what you said. She didn't understand it. Could you explain it to us? And
very
so you'll
good.
have it.
Yeah, very good. Amanda says, as a healthcare professional, how do you define self-care and how important of a role do you feel self-care plays in maintaining
You
your
know
health?
what? I define self care as anything that you do that is taking care of you. It is for you. I'll give you an example. I have days that I consider to be Sandra days. On those days, don't ask me no questions. Don't look at me for no help. Don't send me no emails, no text messages, no nothing else. Because the chances are I'm not going to answer them because I'm having a Sandra day. This day belongs to me. I'm going to get my nails done, my hair done, whatever. I might just be going to sit outside my car, but that's my day. So
That's
don't mess
my
with my
day.
day. And I
Yes,
highly
Sandra Day.
encourage everybody to have one of those days because
Mhm.
how many times do we find ourselves taking care of our husband, our kids, our mother, our father, or somebody, our co-workers? We're taking care of someone, and we have got to stop and say, okay, if I'm taking care of everybody else, who's taking care of me? Who is really taking care of me?
We have a due diligence to take care of ourselves.
We sure do, and that due diligence equals on a scale of A to F. That due diligence is an A plus plus, and when it comes down to self care.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
that's how I feel about self-care, and that's how I define self-care is by finding those things that you like to do and doing those things that you like to do and that are for you.
Hmm. A lot of people don't put themselves first because we've not been trained to.
Yeah. But we
We've
have to
we've been
start
we've been trained to put everybody else first, you know.
exactly.
Yeah, so we have to break that cycle, you all. Tonight, break the cycle. Who's going to
Right.
break the cycle? Put a 1 in the comment section. You're going to break the cycle of caring about everybody in the world except for you because you're valuable. Go ahead and share this so other people can have a stab at it as well. Amanda says, this is great. It always helps to have these things spelled out. True, Amanda. Many times we would never make the connection without seeing it all put together.
We sure wait, and you know what, Amanda? This is the thing, right? If we don't have it spelled out and we try to go as many, if you're anything like I am, I do so many things within a day. If somebody asks me tomorrow, well, what did you do today? If I don't have it written down, I'm gonna tell you I don't know. Because
Exactly.
somebody brings something up to me and say, well, what happened? I don't know. I mean, and it's not that I'm being funny, but it's just that we become so busy and so enamored with other things that we can't think of a lot of things spot on. But when it comes to our health and maintaining our health and protecting our health, we need to be able to rather like just say at a fingertip, boom, here it is. Let me open it up and see what it says, and then that put it down in writing so you'll have it. I can't say it more enough. I can't say it more enough. We've got to protect, as far as the communities that I work most closely with, we have to start doing better at protecting our health at all means, not
At
just
all.
some means, at all means we have to, because guess what, nobody's going to do it for us. How many times have you went in a doctor's office and they just passed you on? They just gaslighted you.
I'm telling you.
They gaslight you because
Yes.
you don't know. They
Mhm.
gaslight you because they figure you don't know and you don't care, so they can do whatever they want to do. And before I get off the subject, one of the other issues that made me write the book and put a burning in me to write the book is that I got tired of carrots being dropped in front of the communities that I
Mhm.
work closely with, in front of our eyes. And when those carrots were dropped, we went to run. We didn't have no information. We went to run it. So you might say, well, Sandra, what can you tell me? Like, what are some of those carrots, right? One of those carrots is they tell us we have access to health care. I don't want access to health care. Sandra, I don't know if you want access to health care. I certainly hope you don't. Amanda, I don't how you don't want access to health care. I'm really hoping you don't. Why? Because you shouldn't just want access to health care. You should want optimal access to health care.
Come
When you
on with it.
doctor and the doctor tells you something that's wrong with you, and they tell you, well, we want to put you on 35 different medications. We want you to do 40 different tests. We want you to do all of this stuff. The next question out of your mouth and say, this is a difference. Access to healthcare was being, okay, well, I'm going to go to the doctor. I went to the doctor and he told me to do this, so I'm going to go do this. I ain't have nothing written down, so I can come back with nothing, so I'm going to go ahead and do what the doctor tells me to do.
Sandra.
Optimal healthcare is asking that, access to healthcare is asking that doctor, would you do this to your mother? If your father came in here, your grandchildren came in here, would you want them to take 40 different medications and do 50 different tests? If the answer is no, then you need to stop and say, I'm not doing it either.
Sandra, you're saying so much, girl. You just listen. I'm going to prepare the audience because I brought that to my doctor's attention, and they're smart and they think quickly. But you know his reply to me? Well, to be honest with you, I can't care for my relatives. So that's not a good question to ask me. All right. So be prepared. All right. So what you want to say is, if this were you, would you want to take all of this?
Exactly. And I'm certainly hoping that that's what you came back to him and said.
Yes, I certainly did, because I could think quick on my feet, honey. And another point I want to bring out is write down your questions before you get to the doctor's office, because if you sitting up there, that's what I'm telling you. Like, if you sitting up there and you don't know what to ask, or you don't know what to say, or they're gonna scoot you right on out. But they got paid. They got paid, and now you go home and you're like, wow, I left the doctor's office and he didn't even say anything to me.
Exactly. And that's, and there was a point in time where we would actually do this, and it was okay, right? The doctors had time to spend with us. They could go over everything with us. Well, now that healthcare is actually a business,
it's a business.
They don't have the time to. So if you don't go into the doctor's office with this book, or if you don't get a journal and start journaling your stuff down to ask your questions, the chances are that you're going to walk out of that doctor's office sicker than you was when you walked in there. Only it's going to be a very costly sick, because you're going to get a bill for you going into that doctor's office and not being prepared to ask that.
You're going to get a bill. Look, Amanda said most people don't think to proactively journal about their own health unless they are filling out medical forms on the spot. And how true is that?
And it is true. Once again, brings up the journal and the planner. These are things that if you write it down in the journal and a planner and you take it to the doctor's office, we all know, well, a lot of us know that you go to, especially if you're a new patient, you go to the doctor's office, you're going to have to fill out new patient forms. You're going to sit an hour and a half filling out some new patient forms, right? If you have all the information already written down, all you got to do is go boom, 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 boom. And half the time that you would take, because you didn't have the information written down, you have it. You have your family history. You can fill out that form. You have your own personal history written down. Because Sandra, like you said, when you go to the doctor, one of the key things that you should be doing is writing it down, writing the list down, having a list. And I'm not talking about on some little piece of paper that you got scribbled some stuff down where you can't even understand it. You need to understand it. Our help, like you said earlier, Sandra, we, and I told you this when you interviewed me. I'm like, you know what? We heard so much about our community passing away from COVID. What was lost on a lot of our people was it really wasn't COVID. It was an underlying condition.
Underlined
When
issue.
we were growing, at least, and I'm gonna date myself. When I was growing up in my family, what Thanksgiving we always had a huge family Thanksgiving. We kids were told to go sit in the kitchen. We didn't need to be in the formal dining room where the adults were. No telling what the conversations was that was being held in those, in the main dining room where all the adults were. So a lot of the information that we needed, we don't have. Let's stop. Let's pause it. Let's do it. Let's get a journal. Let's get the personal health planning journal or get a journal and start writing it down. Let's start telling the stories of our health, because this pandemic, this not the first pandemic, is not the middle, and it sure in the heck ain't the last. And so we don't start keeping track of it now and telling people, hey, this is what's going on. This is what happened, and giving our health history so that it can transverse with us and our grandkids, our great grandkids, those that come behind us have a good understanding of what happened and what went on in their family with their own health. We're gonna be lost.
I mean, I could talk to you all day, girl. You don't stop. I wanted to bring Amanda and Jason on and my team on, Beverly, because we're gonna get carried away, and I want Jason to do the current affairs, and Amanda and Beverly will do some quotes, right? But Amanda says something so important, and I put it on the screen a couple times. But she said it's time for her to schedule in some Amanda days.
I got you, Amanda.
I got that,
girl. Look. You go, girl. You do that. And Jason, when I'm gonna tell you, and my husband now, he knows. He's like, okay, he'll ask me a question. He can automatically tell from my response if that's the day I'm having, and so he just goes on about his little business. So Jason, when she does that, you just need to know. Let me step one out of her little circle of her world.
Look, right? Carolyn said, Carolyn is a nurse, isn't she? She's a nurse, right? She said, I just purchased my journal.
She is. She's a nurse. Yeah.
Yeah. Carolyn, I thank you kindly for making that purchase tonight. Who's going to follow her? At the end of the day, we're not on here to look pretty. I know I'm kidding. But I ain't on here to look pretty. I'm on here to get you a product that is in demand right now. Yeah. And it is necessary. You can forego McDonald's. You can forego your coffee. You can forego something to get this personal health journal and planner. Go get it. Who's next? I would like to see in the comment section, please, who has purchased this journal. I'm going to put my specs on so I can see. She said, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
I so appreciate you purchasing my journal. And not only do I appreciate you purchasing my journal, but I appreciate you taking the time to consider your health as worthy of you purchasing a journal and keeping track of what's going on in your life.
That's what I'm talking about. Amanda said, yes, and most physicians are at least double and triple booked. You're correct about it.
Sure are.
What are some red flags in doctors that people who haven't worked in the health field should look out for?
Good question. One of the main red flags that you should be looking out for, is a doctor that is not a good team player. Every last one of us should have, and I highly recommend, have a medical team. On that medical team is your primary doctor, any specialist that you might see. Even if you just go to your primary doctor and your primary doctor is a holistic doctor, he or she has a team that works with them, right? So you need to make sure that that team works together. If that team does not work together, whoever doctor that is that's not working on that team, you need to let them go. Because guess what? At the end of the day, if you go to that doctor and you don't listen to that doctor, and that doctor feels as though you're out of compliance, one, they can mark your chart and say this patient is out of compliance. They don't ask you why. They don't take your feelings into consideration. They just say this patient is out of compliance. And so what happens is when you try to find another doctor, it makes it hard on you. what additional they will do is they'll send you a letter and say, because you're not listening, we decided that we no longer want to treat you as a patient. You as a patient, you have a patient responsibility. On the top of that patient responsibility is taking care of you. How can you take care of you? By making sure that your doctors understand that you are the center of that attraction when you go to that doctor. If he or she wants to play games and they want to do their own thing off in their own world, it happened to me. I had to let a doctor go. I didn't want to, but I'm like, look, everybody else is playing along. They understand we all working this out. You want to do your own thing. So guess what? I'm gonna let you go ahead and do your own thing. So a red flag for a doctor is that you have a doctor that doesn't listen and doesn't know that you are the center of that appointment. Or if you have other doctors, they don't work well with other doctors. They don't want their opinion. They don't care. So please make sure that you know that you are the center of that appointment. If it's a single doctor, if it's a group of doctors, make sure. If they're not, you need to start looking somewhere else. They will do it to you.
This is some important stuff, you all. You can't pay money. You can't pay enough money for what we're getting tonight. So I hope you all are appreciating this show tonight. People said they can't wait to get theirs next week. Amanda and Jason said they're going to purchase one as well. Thank you so much for that.
I love it. I love the fact that you see the importance of it. I really do, and I so appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. At this time, we're going to have Jason to read the current affairs. I have them on the screen right there, so pay close attention. Go ahead, Jason.
Okay. I'm loving this show. Awesome. It's really awesome that we're dealing with this every day, helping people and using the gifts that Lord has blessed us to bless others. That's why we're here, and that's why we're the chosen. All right, so let's go ahead with the current events. It says Adriana Tyler, a 33-year-old truck driver mom, was reunited with her dad. When she was 13 years old, she overheard her mom and who she thought was her father say he called her his stepdaughter.
Mm-hmm.
So she asked as many questions as she could to her mom to try to see who her dad was, but just couldn't locate him over the years. But after many years, she was on Facebook one day, and there was a group that specialized in targeting and reuniting family members through DNA research. So shortly after joining, this is actually about a week ago, she was able to meet and reach out to her dad, which is a police officer about 1,000 miles away, and he didn't even know he had another child. So it was a surprise for them, and definitely this was a blessing. Now you just never stop looking. The Lord, He'll bring you what you're looking for. All right.